Welcome to Is Franchising Right for You? With your host, Rick Morgin. Through each episode, we'll demystify preconceived notions about franchising, both entrepreneurs franchising and those buying a franchise. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Now here's the host of Is Franchising Right for You? Rick Morgin.
Good morning, Dennis.
Morning, Rick. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. For our listeners, we're privileged to have the founder of Schooley Mitchell Franchising. And Dennis, in fact, just before our this podcast episode, I had a nice holiday cheer conversation with one of your new franchisees, Darren Andrew.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, he was our candidate, in fact, so that full disclosure here.
Yep.
He had a great time. He did catch a bug called COVID.
Oh, is that right?
So he was doing all right. Just want to let you know that.
Yeah, well, we have our annual conference in tropical places each year. So this one was in Jamaica. So we had well over 200 people there. So it was a great event. I'm sad that Darren got the bug, though. Hopefully he'll be okay.
He is. He was laughing about it.
Okay.
If I were to describe Schooley Mitchell, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, absolutely.
Yep.
It is a contingency-based audit service, business development type of franchise where audit services are provided. If savings are found, they're shared, and if not, the client receives a free audit. But you start with one or two, and then the business can just grow from there because there are at least 13 service lines that can be audited. Am I accurate or?
Yeah, well, actually up to 15 or 16 different cost categories that we look at. So if you think of it in broad terms, Rick, we really look at all those expenses below the gross margin line that a business would incur. We don't look at the cost of steel or the cost of payroll, those things that the business is really good at. We look at all those other things, those ancillary costs that are really death by a thousand cuts, where people don't realize they're paying more than they should for things like telecom and waste and courier and merchant services and supplies and things like that. And you're right. What we do is we take a look at all those things. We look at the invoices, we look at the contracts, we look at the way the business is operating, and we make sure they're not paying more than they should. And it's very rare where they're not. And if in fact we don't find savings, like you said, there's no fee to the client. We do that audit for free. But if we do find savings, then we share in those savings with the client. And that's how our franchisees make money.
How did this come about? I mean, did you have an audit background, a finance background, or it?
Well, hopefully my personality doesn't belie this, but I'm actually a CPA. So I am an accountant. And I was originally a Price Waterhouse guy when I was young, but I went out on my own and started my own firm when I was 28. And I've always been a business development guy rather than a backroom tax return type guy. And so we got into various things in our business. We got into management consulting and computer consulting, even sports consulting. And as a result, our own costs started going up in the area of telecommunications. And we decided, as we grew, we knew why, because we were doing more travel and use of the phone and things like that. But we wanted to get a better handle on it. So we asked one of our programming people to write us a fairly rudimentary program at the time to try to help us track what was going on. Well, when we looked at it properly, we realized we were paying 30% more than we should be for telecommunications. And we went, wow, aren't we stupid? And then we went, wait a minute. If we're stupid, probably our 700 accounting clients are stupid too. And so we started looking at their bills in the same way. And it turned out, yes, they didn't really understand how to manage that properly, or how to negotiate with those vendors properly, or how to examine these complicated bills properly. And that's really how it started, Rick. And it's grown from that to where we are today with 260 franchises and looking at 15 different cost categories in the same manner.
That's where your business development skills came in? Is being able to talk with those clients and convince them to let you take a deeper look?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, when we started, it was our own accounting clients. So we already had a trustful relationship with them. But that's when we realized how much slough there is out there in these types of bills. And so, yeah, then the business development side took over, and we had learned a lot about franchising because we had a franchise company that we converted from cash registers to computers way back in the early 90s. So I learned a lot about franchising through that. And so it all kind of came together as Providence 25 years ago. And here we are today.
That I did learn one thing. I mean, we've met a few times over the years. I never knew you were a CPA. I have a finance background too. I was never a CPA, but had finance and accounting education. Spent years many of years of my corporate in the finance world or the FP&A side.
Well, my staff people would say that's why I'm so boring. But anyway, I'll I have pride in obtaining that designation. I just don't use it anymore.
You interact with dozens of potential franchisees each month.
Yep.
If you were to have tracked their characteristics over these 25 years, you probably come up with a very predictive tool on who you want to have on as a partner and who may not be the right fit. What do you look for?
Yeah, I wish there was something more objective to make that decision, but it is a subjective decision. It's an art rather than a science. I mean, we've gotten pretty good at it over the years, but what we need in our business, because it is a business development business, our franchisees are the ones out there getting clients, building relationships and getting referrals and getting renewals, all those things, and presenting reports, of course, when they're done. But they're not the ones doing the analytical part. We've got that all taken care of at our head office. So we're not looking for an analytical person. We're looking for somebody that's comfortable talking to other business people. And we want them to have a background of either executive, management, sales, marketing, or consulting. If they don't have one of those backgrounds, they probably shouldn't be talking to us, because we need to know they can talk to other business people and show them what we can do for them. That's really what we're looking for. And it isn't objective. We try to get our best feel for whether that person would be comfortable in those conversations, whether they're going to interact well with us at head office, because there's a lot of back and forth and support given. And so we really have to make the judgment on that person fitting into our model and being able to talk to other business people. So it's not fail safe, but we've got a lot of people who have changed their lives for the better by joining Schooley Mitchell. But like I say, sometimes we'll get some people and they just don't work at the business, and we wish we hadn't brought them on.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's an art, and art isn't perfect. It's not a perfect science to find that right person.
Yep.
It kind of goes along with hiring people. People look great in the interview and they may not work out after a short period of time.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Now, we do have a very well developed step-by-step system to try to help both sides, both the candidate as well as ourselves, make a good decision about getting into business together. But it's, like you said, it's a science. It's not, it's an art rather than a science, and it's not fail-safe.
So one thing in my conversation with Darren this morning, he did mention that the support that he's received and expects to receive and will receive is fantastic. So you've built a very credible and fantastic support team to be able to prospect and support your franchisees.
Yeah, we have 130 people plus working here in our head office supporting our franchisees, and their only job is to help franchisees make more money. So yeah, we're pretty proud of that. And we kind of know we actually over support in relation to what most franchises do, but we do that on purpose because we want people to never have a problem with the support that they get. And therefore their business is in their own hands. If they want to make a lot of money, they can make a lot of money because they're always going to have the support from us. So I'm glad to hear Darren say that.
I also noticed that in your email blasts that I received, which are very well done, you tout that you're growing by 9 franchisees per month. That's rapid growth.
That seems to be what we're doing right now. Now, we grew very slowly and methodically for years, Rick, as we built out our systems and developed our software tools and all those kinds of things. And that was on purpose. But this last 2 or 3 years, then a lot of people like you have understood what a great business model we have here. And so we're getting more and more people referred our way. And of course, then we go through the system and and make sure that they're a good fit and we're a good fit for them. But yeah, our growth is pretty steady right now.
Personally, I think it's a brilliant business model. It's certainly not something one would think of when you talk and have an initial conversation about franchising, that there is this model in financial services. I'll classify it in that type of industry. But for that right person, over 12 to 18 months, they can start to build a very successful business.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we've got people, and I hesitate to say this because I know this is a public forum, but I'm going to qualify it. But we've got people that make $1 million a year net here, Rick. But in the same breath, I will tell you, we've got people that make nothing because they don't get out of bed. So in terms of our opportunity, it's whatever a person wants to make, they can make in our business. It's a matter of application. That's it. So no tricks.
Yeah, that's true. There is that wide range of performance. And whenever I speak to a candidate about Schooley Mitchell, I always recommend and urge that they validate what they're trying to get into and validate what they're trying to achieve. So that's definitely part of your process.
Yeah, we certainly give them a lot of information. We don't give them too much like a lot of franchisors do right in the very beginning. I mean, we don't issue our FDD till we've had 3 conversations with them. And we just feel that that's a better way to do it, because then they can look at those legal documents with a better light. They understand the business. But we've got a series of steps we go through to help inform them about who we are, what we do, how we do it, all those things, so they can really learn at their pace so they can make a good decision. So we're pretty serious about selecting the right people and helping the right people make sure that we're a good fit for them.
I'm going to divert for a bit. In your first part of this conversation, as you were developing your own business, you talked about sports management, being a finance arm for sports management. So are you a baseball fan?
I played semi-pro. It's amateur, but kind of semi-pro baseball for 27 years. So yes, and I played college hockey as well.
I brought that up because prior to signing with the Dodgers, there was a rumor that Shohei Ohtani was looking at the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yes.
Did you hear about that? Yeah. I mean, that would have been pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But, so enough with sports. What's your vision for Schooley Mitchell over the next 5 years?
Well, I don't know if the camera's finite enough, but I've actually got it on my wall behind me there. I mean, we certainly have a vision of growing our client base and serving more companies and charities and organizations to help them save money. That's one vision we have. We've got a vision of continuing to improve or increase our cost categories that we can look at. We've got a research department, and that's their job. But the vision I have on the board back behind me actually relates to our annual conference, which we were just at. And normally I give the closing remarks at the annual conference as we close up on our awards dinner and things like that. And it just sort of struck me a couple of years ago that I had a vision that maybe someday, instead of talking to 150 or 200 people, that I would do the closing remarks, and there's 1,000 franchisees sitting there, and we've grown to that level, and maybe even some outside of the United States and Canada. I don't know. But my vision is knowing that more than several people in that audience would become millionaires because of what we've all done together. So that's the vision of what I have, and I can read it on the board right behind me because that's what it says.
Yeah. The camera isn't going to be so fine to pick up that print, but I appreciate you sharing that.
Yep.
And let me think here. Me as a consultant and for my peers.
Yep.
What are some of the top 2-3 things that I should convey to potential candidates who we want to match to Schooley Mitchell?
Yeah, I think, and this will go right back to my accounting career as well, but I think a lot of times executive and management people make decisions that are not in their best interest because they see some kind of a business out there that seems kind of sexy, it's a donut shop, or it's a retail location, or it's, window washers all over town and things like that. And, what happens in those businesses sometimes is, your baker calls in drunk at 4 a.m. Well, guess who's going to bake donuts? That's not really what an executive should be doing or wants to do. And they don't realize they're getting into that when they, get into a franchise, and then they're sort of, the message is, well, you just have to manage it. Well, that's never really the case. You generally get your hands and knuckles dirty. So my message is that we are a professional business. We operate in the business to business world. So when an executive or management or sales or marketing person is looking for options, we're going to be a good fit for that person. And it's going to be in a realm that they've always dealt with, that business world. We're a 9-to-5 kind of business. We're not going to work nights and weekends. We're not going to do any of that unless by choice. But, the reality is this is a professional business. It's crafted around, not that we do anything with accounting. I don't mean that, but it's like that. We're providing advice to business clients on a professional level. We're helping them be more profitable. So we're looking for business people. And I just see so many business people making a mistake, getting into hands-on businesses they regret 2 or 3 years later, as opposed to a professional business, which is what we have to offer here.
You ever have either in your personal experience or your franchisees tell you that, we did an audit and we found savings, but then, they came back to us and said, we took a look at that, and we looked at the operation behind that particular service and found that we were doing some things wrong. And not just did we, you guys find savings, but it helped us correct our own processes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we don't just negotiate prices, Rick. We look for errors in bills, so we recover that money for our clients. We identify redundant services, things they don't need or want or even realize they had. We certainly negotiate better prices, but then we also look at what you just said. We're going to look at how are they doing things. Can they make some tweaks to the way that they do things to actually make them more efficient, maybe save some time, just those things that are profitable and valuable to a business. That's absolutely an ancillary value of our consulting for sure.
With the clients, a couple of things that cross my mind when I think of Schooley Mitchell is that for a franchisee, every day is different.
For sure.
Which is adventurous and exciting because
Yep.
It's different because current clients have maybe different issues they want to talk to you about. And then you're prospecting for new clients and creating new relationships. It's those who want to develop relationships with business. Once you do that, then the business comes. I think that's a key component of looking at Schooley Mitchell. Is if you're looking
for sure. I mean, we're a referral business. That's what we are. And it's not hard to get a couple of clients to start things out, but then we work with our clients to get referrals to their neighboring businesses, to their vendors, to their customers. And that's really how the business flourishes. So it is about building relationships with your clients to build those referral networks. That's the most important thing here. And that's fun. You're talking to people, you're getting to know people, you're trying to understand what they need and want. And by doing that, you're building up your own value for them. That's what we do here.
So is a franchisee going to target mid-sized businesses? I mean, it seems like there has to be a certain level of transactions to make the audit.
Well, I mean, you're not going to make a fortune on the hairdresser, that's for sure. But you know what? We've helped hairdressers, but we also done work with multinational corporations as well with, 25 locations. So yeah, everything from very small to very big and everything in between. So that's what we do.
Wow.
I mean, I know it's silly to think of the hairdresser, but what if you save them $100 a month? That's meaningful to them. I mean, it's not, a franchisee's not going to make a fortune making $50 a month, but you know what? You just help somebody. And now you've got a referral source to talk about what we were able to do. So now, but our real target is those companies, 20 employees up to maybe 1,000 employees in that range. That's where most of our clients are. But we've also done work for Ford and Pepsi and Sony and Mattel, companies like that.
You talk about hairdresser, and that is very important. How many times have you heard your hairdresser, your barber, they know everybody?
Yep.
You
sit in those seats every day, right?
Yeah. Their neighbor may be the CEO of a company, you never know.
Or they're next door to an insurance agency with 30 people on the road using, cell phones and tablets. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's true.
Yep.
Anything else that you want to say about Schooley Mitchell? I mean, I wanted to ask, and I never can answer this question. Who's Mitchell?
I don't come on to these presentations with anything prepared, Rick. I just as you can tell, like to talk.
Yeah,
Certainly, I'm passionate about our business here at Schooley Mitchell. So I don't have anything. I mean, the summary of what we are is we're a professional business. We're dealing in the business to business environment. It's generally a work hours type business. It's not, 70 hours a week, that kind of thing. And you can change your life. I suppose one thing I should mention is the exit strategy that we have here, because you see, every client that a franchisee obtains has a future cash flow attached to it, which makes it a saleable asset. And we had one sell for $4.5 million just a couple of years ago, and another one just under $2 million just before that. So, there's value being built with each client you obtain, as well as revenue being earned. I suppose that's a differentiator with us in terms of most professional businesses.
Well, I agree. This may be a silly question, but the brand Schooley and Mitchell, who is Mitchell? I don't know that.
He's my original accounting partner. He has nothing to do with the business anymore at all. But we had branded and trademarked the name prior to us going sort of our separate ways, where he took the accounting business and my wife and I took this, and away we went. So really nothing. It's like Price Waterhouse, except they're both dead and we're both alive. So, okay.
Okay. Well, Dennis, as founder and CEO of a company, I know your time is precious. I sincerely appreciate you being my guest. I admire your company, and happy holidays. Happy holidays to you.
Same to you, Rick, and thank you so much for having me on. And I'll do something like this anytime you want me to. So you just let me know.
Okay. I will. And it was kind of fun working with out the prompts of the preparation that we normally ask. So I appreciate it.
Okay.
You've been tuning into Is Franchising Right for You with your host, Rick Morgin. You can find more episodes on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.